the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. In a world where everyone is shouting to be seen, where attention is currency and reaction is entertainment, the one who remains silent isn't weak, he's in control. Because silence isn't the absence of emotion, it's the presence of discipline. It's the moment you stop chasing, stop begging, stop explaining, and start reclaiming your power. Today, we explore how mastering silence the Stoic way can turn your stillness into strength, and why sometimes the most unshakable voice is the one that says nothing. 1. The more you chase, the more you lose yourself. Have you ever written a message, then opened it 5 times to read it again, edited the words, added a smiley, removed the exclamation mark, rewrote the last line? Not to express yourself, but to be understood, accepted, liked. You're not alone. Since childhood, we've been conditioned to chase approval. A gold star from our teacher, a compliment from our parents, a glance from someone we admire. We learned early that our worth lives in the eyes of others. We didn't ask, do I value myself? We asked, do they value me? So we chase likes, responses, reactions. We shapeshift, we soften our voice, we shrink our truth, all for a nod, a text, a validation that says, yes, you're enough. But here's the truth. The more you seek approval, the more you become its prisoner. Every message you rewrite to sound less intense, every explanation you send to calm someone down, every time you silence your truth to keep someone around, you whisper to yourself, I'm not enough as I am. And that's not the truth. That's a lie dressed as love, a cage disguised as connection. The Stoics knew this trap well. Epictetus said, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. The moment you tie your worth to how others respond, you hand them the key to your peace. When someone leaves and you chase them, when someone disrespects you and you still explain yourself, you are not seeking love. You are abandoning yourself for the illusion of being seen. But what if you could stay? Not stay in the relationship, but stay with yourself. What if the next time you wanted to chase, you paused and remembered, silence is not defeat, it's dignity. Not every door is meant to be knocked on twice, and not every departure deserves your energy. Stop chasing what's already walking away. Your value was never in their approval. It has always been in your ability to walk away with self-respect intact. 2. Those who truly respect you don't need an explanation. Have you ever poured your heart into a message, only to get a one-word reply? Have you ever tried to explain your side of the story, hoping, praying they'd finally understand your intention, your effort, your pain, and instead, they ignored you? Or worse, they nodded, smiled, and vanished again, leaving you with something heavier than rejection, regret. You knew, deep down, you were explaining yourself to someone who had no interest in understanding you. But you spoke anyway, not from strength, but from fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being seen as cold. Fear of being abandoned. And yet, every time you try to justify your truth to someone who doesn't value you, you don't bring clarity, you bargain with your dignity. You cannot earn respect through explanation. Respect is not negotiated, it is recognized or it isn't. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, don't waste what remains of your life speculating about your neighbors. Stop arguing with people who've already decided who you are. Because the truth is, if someone respects you, they won't require an essay to believe in you. They won't need a 3-paragraph message to feel your integrity. They'll feel your silence. They'll understand your boundaries. And they will honor both. But if they don't, no amount of explaining will ever be enough. Explaining yourself to someone who's already made up their mind is like arguing with a locked door. No matter how honest you are, no matter how well you speak, they won't open. And the longer you try, the more exhausted you become. Emotionally, spiritually, silently bleeding for someone who can't or won't hold space for you. So here's the truth you've been avoiding. They heard you the first time. They just didn't care enough to respond. And that silence, that apathy, it is your answer. From this moment forward, choose this. Say it once, mean it, and then let your silence become your final sentence. Those who truly belong in your life won't need subtitles to understand your soul, and those who do, let them misinterpret. Let them guess. You owe nothing to confusion, only allegiance to your own peace. 3. Not explaining yourself is emotional maturity, not coldness. They've changed. She used to care. He's so distant now. That's what they'll say when you stop defending yourself. When you stop bending over backward to make them feel comfortable. When you stop performing for people who were never truly listening. But let me tell you something. Silence isn't cold. It's mature. It's the moment when a man stops reacting. Not because he doesn't feel, but because he's learned to protect what he feels. You see, we live in a culture obsessed with constant explanation, where clarity is confused with worth, where if you don't explain yourself, you're labeled arrogant, unkind, or insensitive. But here's the truth Stoicism teaches. You don't owe everyone access to your emotions, and you certainly don't owe everyone an explanation. The strongest man is not the one who defends himself in every conversation. It's the one who walks away from chaos, calm, grounded, and untouchable. Epictetus said, "Silence is a form of discipline, not silence that hides, but silence that protects. A silence that says, I don't need to argue to stand in truth. I don't need your understanding to stay aligned with myself." Think of it like this. You walk into a crowded room. Everyone is speaking louder, faster, desperate to be seen. But in the corner stands one man quiet, still, collected. Who do they notice first? Stillness has presence. Stillness commands attention without ever asking for it. And that's the paradox of emotional maturity. The more grounded you become in who you are, the less you feel the need to explain who you are. So the next time someone accuses you of being cold, ask yourself, are you being cold, or are you simply done over-explaining? Are you distant, or are you simply centered? When your intentions are pure, when your values are intact, when your path is aligned, silence is not emptiness. It is fullness. It is power. It is peace. Say what you need to say once. Then retreat with grace. Let your stillness be your stance. Let your silence echo louder than your defense ever could. 4. Your silence reveals what their words tried to hide. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to call them out or send that final message. You don't need to ask, why did you do this to me? Because here's the truth. Your silence already exposed them. You see, when you're present, when you're still texting, still explaining, still emotionally available, they wear masks. They say the right words. They act concerned. They play the role of the good one. But when you go quiet, something interesting happens. Their performance collapses. That's the moment the real person shows up. Because silence is like flipping on a light in a dark room. It doesn't say anything. It doesn't accuse. It simply reveals. The Stoics taught us this. Words can lie, but actions rarely do. And the loudest action you can ever take is absence. You don't need to scream, cry, or prove a point. You don't need a dramatic exit. Just stop. No follow-up, no second chances. Let the space you leave behind speak for you. Because in that space, in that stillness, the people who loved you for real will step closer. The ones who used you will panic. And the ones who never cared, they'll finally show it. Let them. Let them ghost you. Let them stay silent. Let them disappear. It doesn't hurt because you lost something valuable. It hurts because you hoped they were someone they never were. But now, through your silence, the truth has surfaced. No need for closure. No need for confrontation. The game is over because you refuse to keep playing. Think of your energy like a candle in a dark room. If they only stood near you because of your light, they'll vanish the moment it goes out. And that's how you know. They weren't drawn to you, they were addicted to your glow. So, next time you're tempted to write that long paragraph, pause, breathe, and remember, the people who genuinely care will never force you to explain your worth. And those who do, let your silence speak for you. Let it uncover what their smiles, promises, and empty apologies tried to bury. The truth is always louder in absence. 5. Stop bleeding in front of people who can't see your wounds. There's a moment after heartbreak, betrayal, or rejection, when the pain is so sharp, so raw, you feel the urge to show it, to message them, to cry to them, to say, "Look what you did to me. Can't you see how much I'm hurting?" But here's the hard truth. Not everyone deserves access to your pain. Some people are simply not equipped to hold your emotions, and others, even worse, will use them against you. Yet we confuse vulnerability with exposure. We think that opening up means healing, that if we express it well enough with the right words, the right tone, they'll finally understand. They'll finally care. They'll finally say, "I'm sorry." But what actually happens? You pour out your wounds, only to be met with silence, dismissiveness, minimization, and in the end, you feel even smaller than before. Because you weren't healing, you were bargaining with your pain, as if, by bleeding in front of them, they'll offer you the bandage. But Stoicism teaches us, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Marcus Aurelius. Your pain is sacred. It's not for public display. It's not a campaign to earn empathy. It's something to protect, to nurture within. Because some people don't want to help you heal. They want to feel powerful watching you unravel. They don't see your vulnerability as human. They see it as leverage. Imagine walking barefoot into a room full of broken glass and expecting it to feel soft. That's what it's like when you explain your pain to the very people who caused it. So next time your heart breaks and your instinct says, tell them, make them see, make them care. Pause. Wrap your pain in silence. Protect your wound like something precious, because it is. And in that quiet, something powerful happens. You begin to heal. Not because they apologized, not because they saw the damage, but because you stopped giving them the power to validate your suffering. You don't need them to understand your pain. You just need to stop offering it to people who never earned the right to witness it. Silence isn't avoidance. It's protection. And healing begins when the performance ends. 6. Closure is not something they give you, it's something you give yourself. You keep checking your phone, scrolling through old conversations, replaying the last moment over and over in your mind, hoping they'll come back. That one final message will arrive to make sense of it all, but it never does. And the longer you wait, the louder the silence becomes. Here's the brutal truth. They've already made peace with what broke you, and you're still standing in the ruins, waiting for them to return and explain why they set fire to it. But they won't. And more importantly, you don't need them to. Closure is not a text, not a call, not their apology, not their explanation. Closure is a decision, made by you in silence, to stop reopening wounds they have no intention of helping you heal. Because let's be honest, if they truly cared, you wouldn't be searching for closure. You'd already have it. We were taught that endings require mutual understanding. that both parties should agree, shake hands, and walk away in peace. But in the real world, that rarely happens. Some people disappear mid-sentence. Some ghost you without warning. Some betray you, then pretend you never existed. And if you wait for them to bring you peace, you'll wait forever. Stoicism teaches us that true power lies in what we can control, and that includes the moment we choose to stop hoping for what we'll never receive. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Closure is not a conversation. It's the moment you whisper to yourself, "This ends here." Not in bitterness, not in revenge, but in quiet self-respect. You close the door, not because they deserve to be shut out, but because you deserve warmth, and the wind has been blowing through that open space for far too long. So stop typing that last message. Stop rehearsing what you'd say if they came back. Stop hoping for the apology that never arrives. Instead, sit still, place your hand on your heart, and say, "I carry the weight no more." Because the peace you've been waiting for is not in their words. It's in your silence. 7. Your silence teaches them what your words never could. You've tried words. You've tried explaining. You've tried crying, reasoning, even yelling, hoping they'd finally understand. But they didn't. Not because you didn't speak clearly, but because they were never listening in the first place. And so now, you stop. No last message. No final plea. Just silence. And suddenly, they panic, because the one thing they never expected from you was your absence. They could dismiss your words. They could twist your meaning. They could pretend to misunderstand. But silence? Silence leaves nothing to control. It removes the game board. It ends the performance. And it does what your most heartfelt paragraph never could. It teaches. Stoicism tells us that the strongest response isn't always action. Sometimes it's restraint. Marcus Aurelius didn't chase or argue. He didn't defend himself in the streets. He ruled with presence, not noise. And that's what your silence becomes. Presence, without needing to prove a thing. See, as long as you're explaining yourself, they still hold power. They still feel needed. They still believe they own a part of your mind. But when you go quiet, truly quiet, they're left with their own thoughts. No echo of your voice to distract them. No emotional reaction to feed off. Just space. And in that space, they begin to hear the deafening sound of your absence, the weight of your disappearance, the echo of everything they never said and now never can. You don't need to yell to be heard. You don't need to defend your truth. You don't need to slam the door to make a statement. Just walk away. With clarity, not resentment. With purpose, not pettiness. Let them wonder. Let them replay every word they said. Let them sit with the version of you that no longer responds. Because here's what they'll learn far too late. The most dangerous man is not the one who argues. It's the one who walks away in peace, never to return. Let your silence be the final lesson. Let it speak what your words could not. Let it stand as the unshakable proof that your self-respect is no longer up for debate. 8. They expected you to break, but you went quiet, and that broke them. They thought you'd scream. They thought you'd beg. They thought you'd fall apart in front of them again. Because that's what you've always done. You reacted. You defended. You tried to save what was already dying. So when you didn't send that message, didn't call, didn't show up one more time, they didn't know what to do with that silence. Because they weren't afraid of losing you. They were afraid of losing control. Control over your emotions. Control over your loyalty. Control over your willingness to stay and explain. But the moment you stayed silent, everything changed. Because silence does what chaos never could. It brings truth. And the truth is, they miscalculated you. They assumed your kindness was weakness. They mistook your patience for permission. But when you finally withdrew, without bitterness, without fanfare, they felt it. Felt the weight of your absence. Felt the echo of everything you used to give freely now gone. No more attention. No more validation. No more energy to feed their illusion of power. That broke them. Because when you stop reacting, you collapse their entire strategy. The manipulation fails. The provocation dies in mid-air. The performance ends, and they're left standing in silence, realizing they pushed away the one person who stayed far longer than they deserved. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And now that's exactly what they're doing. Replaying the story. Trying to guess what you're thinking. Creating dramas in their head. Because you're no longer participating in the one they wrote for you. And you? You don't return to prove anything. You don't explain your absence. You don't reopen old wounds to make them feel better. Because you finally understand. Your silence is not punishment. It's protection. It's sovereignty. It's growth. You didn't break. You outgrew the noise. You outloved the manipulation. You outlasted the game. And in walking away quietly, you delivered a message more powerful than any speech ever could. You no longer have access to me. No rage. No revenge. Just calm, clean detachment. That's not weakness. That's transformation. Conclusion. Silence is not surrender. It's self-mastery. Silence is victory won through discipline. You don't need applause to prove your worth. You don't need an apology to begin healing. You don't need to argue to be right. You just need stillness. Stillness that comes from clarity. Stillness that chooses when to walk away, not in fear, but in power. Every time you resist the urge to react, every time you choose silence over justification, every time you walk without a sound, you are laying another brick in the fortress of your inner strength. Weekly challenge for you. This week, when conflict arises, pause. Don't react. Don't defend. Just observe. Not because you're avoiding it, but because you are taking your power back. And if you've ever had a moment in life when your silence said more than your voice ever could, share it in the comments. Because sometimes, the quietest stories are the ones that echo the loudest in other people's hearts. Remember this, silence is not emptiness. It is power. It is restraint. And it is my final word. If this message spoke to something deep within you, don't explain it. Just share it. Quietly, intentionally. Because someone out there might be silently waiting to hear exactly this. And if you're walking the Stoic path with us, tap that subscribe button. Not for numbers, but to remind yourself that you're not walking this journey alone. Comment to commit. This week, I choose silence over reaction. Let that be your quiet contract with yourself.